Cosmic Awakening, 1991, Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. By Makāula Nakae, April 29, 1991, to Cusco. Episode 22. Dawn meditation, rubbing our sleep-filled eyes for the early morning meditation. We slipped out of bed and headed toward the gathering point in front of the hotel. The mountains of the Sacred Valley were wrapped in white morning mist, their emerging and receding slopes tinted a pale blue-purple, resembling a fantastic painting. Hotel staff came up the Bingham Road, wet with morning dew, riding in a bus. Once everyone had gathered, we headed toward the ruins for the early morning session. The morning sun was already beginning to rise, and by the time we reached the monolith near the temple of the Condor where the session was held, there was still some time before sunrise, and its rays had yet to illuminate the ruins. It was chilly, and the wind blowing from the valley felt cold against our cheeks. Everyone sat down in their preferred spots surrounding Edward, while I sat atop the polished summit of the monolith. The cold wind sweeping up from the valley chilled me to the bone as it raced down my spine. This spot was identical to the memory scenery I had seen the previous night. I had sat here together with a young girl living within the ruins, practicing songs side by side. Presently, Edward steadied his breathing and entered a meditative state, and the early morning meditation commenced with Ja-Zeawa's greeting. The beginning of our new day. Ja-Zeawa stated that the world moving forward would become a place of great trials for building peace. Bringing peace to the world and returning to a state of harmony with nature were essential for the future trajectory of the world. Looking back over the past 100 years, wherever we went, we could drink unpolluted water and breathe unpolluted air. Even going back 50 years, although some pollution existed, the situation was still largely manageable. However, through the historical flow and technological development of the past 50 years, our Earth had been rapidly polluted, Ja-Zeawa said. The new age, the arrival of a new era. Yet as the next millennium approached, such a wonderful future would not arrive simply by sitting back and waiting, they said. Ja-Zeawa explained that if each of us expands the concept of healing beyond merely curing physical ailments, utilizing the energy of thought in a broader sense, it will unlock diverse possibilities. It is possible to heal the world, and it is never too late. Knowing that we can heal both our own lives and the planet itself is what matters, they stated. Guided by Ja-Zeawa, we performed a meditation to heal the world. This land, where the sacred Inca ruined city rests, is a land where the heart ascends, and the rising heart energy ascending from here signifies the healing of the earth, they said. We meditated while feeling the warmth of the gradually rising morning sun, visualizing a new world being constructed, and the heart light energy rising from here flowing out as healing energy across the entire world. Alongside the morning sun, Ja-Zeawa added a final remark concerning the mountain standing before us in the sacred valley. The mountain rising directly in front of the city is the entrance to the archive hiding the records and legacy of an ancient civilization, they said. And within the sharp-peaked mountain behind it lies a pyramid, inside which various records of the primordial civilization are preserved. Eventually, once we transcend war and the environment regains its balance, those mountains will be opened, telling us to walk the path toward peace and realize that path through our own methods. Ja-Zeawa departed Edward's physical body. We spent a while gazing out at the mountains surrounding this sacred city. Low-hanging white clouds drifted across the mountains, making it feel almost as if we could reach out and touch them. After finishing breakfast, we wandered aimlessly through the ruins until departure time. A local guide who appeared from somewhere pointed to a mountain-shaped rock protruding in the plaza of the Intihuatana, which we had climbed once more, and explained that this rock served the function of a map. Tracing the slope of the rock face with his finger, while calling it the Inca Trail and pointing toward the path continuing behind the ruins. That rock bore a striking resemblance to the shape of the surrounding mountains. Ignoring the gazes of others, Saki sat down right in the plaza and attempted to meditate. I continued gazing unweariedly at the surrounding mountains and the entirety of the ruins from the elevated plaza. Before long, a flood of tourists poured into the ruins, which had been practically reserved exclusively for us, swallowing the entire site in their murmurs and gradually diluting its mysterious quietude and atmosphere. We turned back at the entrance of the ruins and said our goodbyes. In my heart, I whispered, "I'll come back again," as I left the ruins behind. Rather than a feeling of reluctance to leave the place, a crisp, refreshing premonition of the future, felt several times stronger. The day I would visit this land once more flashed vividly across my mind. And we never looked back toward the ruins again. We gathered as a group to take a commemorative photo with the mountains sprawling before the hotel in the background, and boarded the bus to leave the ruins of Machu Picchu behind. The bus dashed down the white glowing Bingham Road amid plumes of dust, illuminated by the afternoon sun. After navigating several sharp curves, a high-pitched cry of sayonara echoed from somewhere. Amidst the dust, a single small Inca child was shouting at the top of his lungs, waving his small palms wide with all his might and repeating sayonara. That boy would ambush our bus at various points ahead, repeating his loud farewells. While our bus navigated wide switchbacks, the boy sprinted down a steep, solitary mountain trail to greet us. There was no sense of clinging attachment in the boy's farewell. Far from reluctance, it felt as though I were being cheered on from behind. It was wonderfully pleasant, feeling not like a final goodbye, but a light greeting until the day we would visit this land again. We threaded our way through the street stalls open at the Machu Picchu station, and the swarms of vendors repeatedly crying out, "Please buy this, my friend." With all their might, boarded the train and headed straight toward Cusco, the capital of the Inca Empire. The train swayed along the Urubamba River, descending the sacred Urubamba as it sped across green-sprouting prairies. Fatigue invited drowsiness, and before I knew it, I had drifted off to sleep. As we neared Cusco, the train repeatedly halted and started, winding its way up the mountain slopes. As we grew closer to the city of Cusco, brown adobe-walled, slum-like houses continued past, and the lively faces of children standing on the earthen banks alongside the tracks and waving at tourists left a deeply lingering impression. From our perspective, their living conditions could hardly be called good, yet the children, waving joyfully and innocently, as though living conditions had nothing whatsoever to do with happiness, looked remarkably happy. Roughly 3 hours after departing Machu Picchu, we arrived at San Pedro Station in Cusco. The security around the station was extremely poor, and our guide, Alex, warned us to be very careful when moving from the train to the bus. Taking a hotel bus into the city, we headed toward the Hotel Libertador Cusco. Upon arrival, we were handed a small map of Cusco, with several zones circled in red ink with a marker, and were strictly warned never to enter those areas. At the time, Peru's economy was completely shattered and in its worst possible condition. The hotel where we stayed, the Libertador Cusco, was a stately colonial-style building whose exterior and interior fully preserved the beauty of Spanish architecture. Nothing about it was modern. The restaurant inside had once served as the official residence of a Spanish governor, making it a historically distinguished hotel. Our suitcases had been safely delivered from the Urubamba Hotel to our rooms, and dropping our luggage, we rested on the bed for a while. Both Tadashi and I were quite tired. After a short nap, a shower, and changing into fresh clothes, I headed down to the lobby for dinner. The two of us went out into the city of Cusco alongside Saki Naoko and several other tour participants. Walking through the night in Cusco for the very first time felt cold, contrasting sharply with the dusty air of daytime. An aura of water hovered all around us, as if we were walking underwater. Pedestrians were sparse on the wide streets, creating a somewhat suspicious atmosphere. Unlike the streetscapes of Japan or Los Angeles, the nighttime streets of Cusco lacked the color of glowing neon lights or shop window displays. Instead, the cocktail lighting of street lamps dyed sections of the darkened Inca stone walls and white adobe walls in orange hues. It seemed unlikely that we would be able to wander through an unfamiliar city searching for a restaurant, so we headed to one recommended by the hotel. On the wall right beside our table hung several mysterious masks from Southeast Asia, and those masks blended so strangely and comfortably with the Spanish-style interior that it drew laughter filled with our surprise. After a while, the restaurant's resident folklore quartet began to play, and live Peruvian folk music drifted through the room. Thus, little by little, we began returning to the real world. After finishing dinner and returning to the hotel, I parted ways with Tadashi and the others who continued chatting at the front desk, returning to my room alone to soak leisurely in the bathtub. Soaking in the warm water for a long time made me realize just how unexpectedly exhausted my body was. Just as I was about to slip into bed without waiting for Tadashi's return, someone knocked on the door. The person who appeared was the woman who had witnessed the vision of glowing people at the Intihuatana in Machu Picchu. She said she had come to the room, hoping Tadashi might have a cigarette to spare. We ended up chatting right there. She confessed that she couldn't make sense of the events of the previous night. Feeling frightened as though she were being dragged into another dimension, because she had encountered a side of herself she never knew existed, alongside events entirely alien to her. She turned to me, someone undergoing similar experiences, and asked if I didn't feel a similar sense of dread. Aspects of myself I had never known before. Especially given that these various events experienced during this journey far transcended ordinary common sense, I couldn't claim I felt zero doubt, nor that I didn't find the experience of such unfamiliar realities frightening. Yet, rather than shutting out those unknown facets of myself, accepting the self that had come to know them felt easier to me. Moreover, things beyond the scope of current understanding could not be comprehended no matter how hard one tried, and it felt pointless to dwell on them. She and I discussed various matters, and she shared that she had seen past life visions remarkably similar to mine. Tadashi had appeared in her meditations as well, and she felt toward him the exact same way I did, as though he were a father figure. In that vision, Tadashi apparently had been biting into a blue apple. Just like me, she could see herself as a child, and the children appearing there numbered 3. 2 girls including herself, and 1 boy. She said those 3 felt somehow like childhood friends. The 2 of us looked at each other and laughed, imagining Tadashi playing the role of a father. When Tadashi returned after she left, I recounted the conversation to him, and he laughed thoughtfully, saying, "I can't remember a single thing on my own. Yet I keep showing up in everyone else's lives, don't I?" But frankly speaking, there was probably nothing else to do aside from laughing at such a far-fetched story. To be continued. Watch and listen. Watch the cinematic video trailer. Listen to the full podcast now. Explore the archive Cosmic Awakening Volume 1, 1991, Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. Volume 2, Ascension 2012, The Golden Alchemy. Part 3, The First Contact. Join the journey. New episodes drop periodically. Each chapter delivers a tight, hyper-focused 10 to 30-minute hit of real-life experiences, perfect for your daily plunge into consciousness exploration. Subscribe to support your inner development. Thumbs up to help push our channel through the algorithm. Comment below. Share your thoughts on today's episode.